Yeah, so winter, but we're getting there. We're out of the longest month. We're out of January, guys. So
I heard the groundhog said it's going to be a longer winter though, didn't he? Yesterday? Was that yesterday?
it was yesterday, but I didn't see what the results were. I only saw the advertisements for Puxatawny Phil. I didn't see.
Yeah. No, I think he said it's going to go a little bit longer this year.
Dang it, dang it.
I didn't hear that, but I did hear something interesting about this February. I guess this particular February has exactly like 4 Sundays, 4 Saturdays, 4 Thursdays, like four of every day of the week, which happens like
Oh.
once every like 800 years or something wild like that.
I did see that too. I saw that this weekend on something, and I thought, oh, who does that? Who thinks about that kind of stuff?
I hate to say
Too
it,
much
me.
time on
I'm
their
so
hands.
OCD. This is like my favorite month of the year. Like if a month starts on a Monday or anything like that, those that's right up my alley. So unfortunately, I'm the OCD person that thinks of things like that.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, I think we'll get started here. Welcome to the SIP, everyone, where conversation sparks connections, collaboration fuels innovation, and industry leaders come together to tackle the challenges shaping mortgage lending today. Um, it is like getting together over a cup of coffee. I just went and got my first cup of coffee of the day. You can't see what it says, but it does say laugh on it. So we're going to have a good time today. We're going to have a
Absolutely.
few laughs while we're together. We're passionate about empowering our members, which we have two with us today to thrive. And the SIP has really grown into more than just a show. It's a platform to talk about world strategies, bold ideas that you have, and get a kind of perspective that you only get from when you work together. So that is what we're doing. Thanks for joining us. Today's episode is proudly sponsored by Byte. I have two incredible members of TMC, the TMC family with us today. So let me introduce them. Our OCD person, but I don't like to be known as that, is John Wines, Chief Strategy Officer from Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. Thank you for joining us
Thanks
today.
for having me.
And Bobby Palmer, VP of Marketing at Byte. Welcome, Bobby.
Hello,
And thank
hello.
you for sponsoring today. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I thought we'd talk a little bit, John, first about who Atlantic Bay is. Well known within the TMC family, very strong team of individuals who we all love that we get to interact with. Can you just share with us kind of like what you're thinking of for 2026, what your priorities are?
Yeah, absolutely. So Atlantic Bay is an IMB. We about 4.5 billion a year, and mostly on the East Coast. So kind of from the Virginia down to Florida, Texas, that kind of area. And for the upcoming year, a lot of focusing on growth this year. But just not growth from the hiring perspective. I mean, obviously, we want to hire good talent into the company, but more than that, how do we look at our workflows and things along those lines to increase the productivity of each of our individual people? It's you think about trying to hire a whole bunch of loan officers, but what if you can make them a little bit more efficient and help them close an extra loan a month? If you take that times your loan officer population, you can see significant lifts just by increasing their productivity just a little bit. So with that comes, making them more efficient, holding on to the retention, those kind of things. In addition to that, looking at a lot of our the borrower credential tools are starting to become more and more popular now. We're starting to get in more buy-in from our loan officers to get the borrower to connect to their income and their asset during the loan application process. So that's been exciting and really looking to see what we can do to kind of revolutionize the way loans are manufactured because it really is changing right in front of our eyes with these tools.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's a whole other conversation that we should have at some point. Adoption.
Oh
How do
yeah.
you gain adoption from people? That's a big one. Bobby, you want to share what's new with Byte? What have you got going on over at Byte?
Always something, right?
Yeah.
No, it's actually a really exciting year for us. 2026. 2025 we had a lot of projects that we've been working on a long time kind of come to fruition. So now we get to see the fruits of that. So the biggest one would be Byte Web. It's our what we call our next generation LOS platform. It's our fully browser-based version of Byte. It is live. It is available. It just had a new UI update, so even people that maybe saw it over the last year or so would look at it now and not that they wouldn't recognize it, but it's this pretty significant improvement from a UI design standpoint, which, as a marketing person and designer myself, I'm really excited about. So yeah, that's a huge lift for us. it's going to be really think about it like the baseline, I guess, or a foundation for what we can build on in the future. So it already has a lot of upgrades in it, but I think obviously AI we just mentioned, and that's something where being able to build off of a whole new platform, I think is significant for us. So, for example, we just came out with a new AI based macro automation builder, right? And so the cool thing for those that aren't familiar with about macro automation is it's extremely powerful, but it's also super customizable. And I think John, you'll probably hit on that a little bit later, but you can really tailor it the way you want, but you always had to write like the JavaScript code. And so now you don't have to do that anymore. With the AI editor, it's all AI prompts. And so that's going to be a huge lift. I'm excited for our clients. We're actually going to demo this at the TMC conference here in a couple weeks
Um,
for the partner showcase. Yeah, because someone like me can actually do it. I can't write code. So, for us, a lot of our clients that maybe our smaller banks or credit unions don't have a lot of IT resources, they can go in now and really take advantage of that type of automation. And then those like John and his team that do have a development team and resources, it'll just make them that much more efficient, right? Because they're not starting from scratch. It's they can use the AI prompts to get the code extremely quickly and then tweak it from there. So that's a huge lift for us, a big enhancement we're really excited about. And then Byte Price is our pricing engine, a native pricing engine that we've been working on for quite a while. And it's in beta right now with a few customers and should be ready for external demos here about the end of Q1. So, like I said, really exciting year for us at Byte 2026 and a lot of other features as well too, but those are the big ones.
Can't wait to see that
Yeah.
in when we're in Scottsdale for sure. And you just kind of led us right into like the next topic that we really wanted to talk about. Number one, for those of us within the TMC family, when you have a Byte fan, they're like raving fans of Byte. It's like they are their own group and raving fans for sure. But one of the things that we hear from our membership quite often John, is how customizable Byte is. And I would just love to hear your take on that and kind of how you utilize that, if you utilize that at Atlantic Bay.
Absolutely. Well, if you want to talk to the raving fans part of that real quick, I've been at Atlantic Bay for 16 years now. We've been on Byte the entire time I've been here. So I'm trying
Oh,
to figure out how far back we actually did sign up with Byte. I've heard people say we're celebrating our 30th year in business. I've heard people say all the way back from the beginning. I've heard people say 20 years. I know it's been at least 16 because I've been here for 16 and we've
wow.
been on Byte since I joined. And when I was a regional sales manager, I was teaching our onboarding class for new hires. It was just amazing how quickly people were able to pick up the Byte platform. So they would come from maybe bigger, different LOSs and things, and they were just so happy with just how smooth like the workflows were. It didn't have a bunch of stops where it was getting in your way of performing your job. So we did have a lot of raving fans as I was teaching onboarding just to see the look of relief because you're starting at a new company with all new systems and the biggest one is the LOS that you have to kind of go in, and it can be the most overwhelming. But I used to have so many people like during onboarding go, "This is easy." I'm like, "Yes, it's easy. It's simple. You just got to go from screen to screen."
Nice.
Yeah, and as far as the customization of it, I'm not a tech guy, even though I oversee a lot of tech departments. I am actually a loan officer at heart. I've been originator for years, a regional sales manager. So I don't speak a lot of the IT language, but what I always can do is I can always go to my head of loan innovation and be like, look, as a loan officer, this is how it's got to flow. Can you do this? And Byte doesn't get in the way of being able to make it work. And so, like, he had a good line. I actually wrote it down. He said, a lot of people ask the question, does the LOS support this workflow versus how do we want this workflow to behave? And we get to live in that, how do we want it to behave? Where I just go to him with a wild idea and I'm like, look, it's got to work like this from a loan officer standpoint. Like, that's not a natural flow to do it like this. We got to do it like that. And the flexibility that we have within Byte to create that workflow to meet our needs is amazing. And it's something we lean on heavily. I mean, 16 years of customizing Byte. I don't even know what like natural out of the box Byte looks like anymore because we've done so much stuff to it. So
We
I'd be
hear that a
interested to
lot.
almost see what the original version is.
I'm sure that is true. 16 years is a long time to be in one place and to have systems all in one place and have
Yeah.
you so happy with them. So that's very credible
That was
and
almost before
commendable.
smartphones.
Yeah, yeah, it is. You're right. A lot of times, the concern for some of our lenders is because, I mean, we deal with the small to mid-size, I would say lender members, some that have grown much bigger since they've been part of the TMC family. But customization to a lot of our smaller lenders in the past has meant you have to have a team of people that support that, that do that. And it can take sometimes a long time when you don't have a lot of staffing to
Hmm.
get things set up. So I know that's always been a big concern for our lenders when they're like changing their LOSs or they're, vetting them out, I guess I would say. Um, Bobby, I would love for you to speak to the fact is Byte more of a platform for companies that have a larger development team, like maybe Atlantic Bay does?
Hmm.
Or how does it work for people that don't maybe have that same support?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And in fact, you mentioned something there just kind of made me think of something. So you said a lot of the members too have grown since joining TMC. And John, when you mentioned being there for 16 years, have you guys grown a lot in that 16 years? I'm just kind of curious. I actually don't know the answer. Like, have
Yeah,
you,
so
has Atlantic Bay itself grown a lot in that time? And if so, did the platform kind of grow with you, so to speak? I mean, assuming you have because
absolutely.
you're still with us, but
Right. So I would say 100% yes. I remember it was years ago that I was sitting in a manager meeting in Virginia Beach, and Brian Holland, our CEO, got on a whiteboard and he wrote big fat hairy goal on the top of the whiteboard, and he put $1 billion, and $1 billion was just like it didn't seem conceivable at the time. It was
yeah,
just it was a number that if we hit this number, it would be the biggest thing we've ever done. And last year we closed, I want to say it was around 4.3 billion, and this year we've set up, sites even higher than that. So
nice.
certainly have grown quite a bit, and I'm sure they're
Okay.
biting. Being able to build the workflows to the way we want them to be. I mean, we don't take anything hardly out of the box. We do a lot of like we want it to work for our workflows,
Yeah.
and Byte's played a big part of that.
That's cool. Sorry, I didn't answer your question, Faith. I'll get to that in a second. I was just curious when I heard the growth question, 'cause I know that's a lot of things people ask about now is like, this is where we're at today, but this is where we want to go. Are we gonna have to do this again in 5 years? So, just to your point, it's not fun.
Don't
Um,
want to
s-
do.
yeah, switching to LOS is not
Yeah.
fun, but we try to make it a lot easier. So, to answer your question, yes, the platform is extremely flexible, as John said. So, and I think that's probably one of the biggest values of Byte is that it does work for teams like Atlantic Bay that do have some development teams or CMG or North Point Bank, some of those the larger lenders that we have on the platform. But it also, we have a ton of like small community banks, smaller credit unions, even brokers that are incredibly successful on the platform and love it. And they don't have any IT resources or very limited IT resources. And so, to have a system that's really easy to administrate and you don't have to, have a whole development team to make it work and get a lot out of it. But also for those that want that really want to trick it out, uh, we kind of give them the keys to the kingdom, so to speak, in terms of that. So yeah, it's incredibly flexible, incredibly easy to administrate. And I think that, really opens the door for almost any kind of lender. And then addressing the change, right, that no one wants to do. Uh, I can only speak to the way we do things here. I don't really know how it works with other platforms, but the way we handle implementations is that we really take the concept of like teaching you to fish, right? So by the time you're ready to go live, which could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months, depending on how many customizations you're trying to replicate and how many channels we're dealing with and things like that. When you're ready to go live, like the system, you know how to administrate it, and you can be self-sufficient, which is what we want. And so, even though switching an LOS can be a big deal, you get the hand holding. We've got best practices that you can follow and then tweak to work the way you want, as John mentioned. And yeah, it really almost makes it somewhat of an enjoyable experience and far easier than maybe people are anticipating. But and then from there, since they know how to run it, like I said, we give them the keys, the open API, and John, I'll kind of flip it back to you. Like I know you guys use our API a lot for different integrations that you want to add outside of the ones we have built in. Maybe talk a little bit about how that's worked for you because I know a lot of people like it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we again, I keep throwing wild ideas at our head of loan innovation. And we do have a development team, but I mean, over the years, it hasn't been that big. I mean, again, we were a billion-dollar a year company. We've grown since then, but it doesn't take a huge army of people to maintain even what we do. It's so, and in fact, we at one point had built a lot of bots and things like that. We've been converting those over to automations within the platform. So, not even needing a lot of the
Nice.
bots that do cost a lot of money to
Yeah.
build and maintain. So, it's been good lately to be able to turn some of those functions that we had as bots and automate them within the platform. But I mean, gosh, I actually had a meeting with my head of loan innovation this morning, and we were talking about some of the ones, and he's like, "Gosh, we got so many, I don't even know which ones to tell you." But I'd say the ones that stand out to me in particular, a lot of the integrations we've done with our point of sale platform in Encino. I mean, that's where a lot of the workflows come into play when we're talking about the flow of documents and data and the borrow credential tools. And that's what's really stood out is how we can grab the data and the things that we can do with it. In particular, maybe pulling credit, for example. I believe we're using Byte's API for that, not even using our credit providers. And so there's just a lot of things that, pretty much every step of the way, we first start with how do we want it to work, and then we
Yeah.
start focusing on, okay, so what do we need to do it? But, we get to pretty close to ideal most of the time.
Fabulous, fabulous. So, big topic of conversation. It will be in Scottsdale too at our conference. We are constantly hearing about AI and automation. It seems like those are kind of going to be the words of the year for
Yeah.
26 in mortgage lending for sure. But there's also a very human element that is part of the mortgage business. And I think it's something that all of us would probably say, people are making a huge decision. It's a big, the human element in mortgage is a big piece of it, right? So Atlantic Bay has been voted one of the best lenders to work for several years, something I'm sure you and your team are very, very proud of. Can you talk a little bit about like what your culture is with all of the automation and everything that you've done, and how you, along with automation, have been able to grow such a successful culture in your organization?
Absolutely. Yeah. We're super proud of the top workplaces. It's something that you can't buy. It's an anonymous survey that goes out to all of our employees, and we just keep our fingers crossed. And we can't push them to say anything toward in our favor. So we just hope that they're enjoying their experience here. But I think when it comes to the culture, it starts with our core values. I mean, we were one, I believe it was several years ago, we all sat in the room, the executive leadership team, and we picked out like 10 of the people and said, if you could clone these people and we could just make more of them, what do they exemplify? What are their traits? And with that came our core values. We genuinely care, we inspire growth, and we have fun. And every decision we make has to come back to those three things. So hiring decisions, firing decisions, everything that comes up. We were supposed to have our 30th anniversary party last week and the snowstorm was coming down. So we leaned into the genuine care. Like we were trying to have fun with the party, but then we had to say, look, but we genuinely care about our people. We can't have a big party when we have a snowstorm that could impact them. We don't, we genuinely care about our people. We can't do that to them. So when you know your values, everything becomes easier. So for the top workplaces, it really does come down to knowing what your values are, living them, eating, breathing, and sleeping these values day in, day out. As it relates to automation and things, I mean, again, I know it's cliche, but we really want to use technology and automation to help amplify what our people can do per day. If we can get more out of every processor and underwriter and loan officer and closer, we've got amazing people here. We know we've got amazing people. We've hired them and maintained them through our culture. And now it's a matter of getting the most out of them that we possibly can. So for us, automation is not so we can get rid of people or have less people. It's how we can lift those people up. And if we can help our loan officers bring in more loans, well, that's more loans for the underwriter and processor to close. And hopefully, my word of the year for 2026 is scalability. And how do you create scalability with the technology now that maybe you couldn't before? That way, you don't have to hire twice as many people to do twice as many loans. And so the
Yeah.
scalability part of it is a big one for me this year as we start to look at our tech stack and look at automations and different things like that within it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that a lot of people are kind of I mean, if you haven't, you probably should be. I think a lot of people thinking that it's going to be a better year in 2026 have like are going down a very similar path because I mean, let's face it, people in the mortgage industry don't want to do that hire and fire anymore. That whole cycle that has just been so prevalent in our industry for such a long period of time. And I think people have finally decided there's got to be a better way. There's got to be a better way to do this, that we don't have to do this, and we don't have to do this to the people that are involved in that situation either. So I think that, yeah, strong culture can help that. I'm going to go off script a little bit or off things that we've talked about a little bit because I feel like we have a little bit of time to do this. But I would imagine implementing this AI, streamlining your processes so they make sense to your people, that one of your goals has to be, you said elevate the people in your organization. You've hired smart people. I would have to think that this gives them also better job satisfaction because they're working on higher level tasks and not having to do some of the more mundane. How does that work at Atlantic Bay? Is that what you feel like is going on with your team as you continually develop some of your systems?
Yeah, I hope that, I mean, I hope that's how our people feel. I mean, the top workplaces shows that we feel like we're doing something right. I think a lot of it is our key leadership roles have done the jobs before. I mean, I've been a loan officer longer than I've done any other thing in my life. And so when I'm building technology, I'm not building it from a tech perspective. I'm building it from a loan officer standpoint. Back when I originated, Chrissy Brown, who's now our chief operations officer, she was my underwriter. So she's been an underwriter
Oh,
before. So I was originating, she was my underwriter, and now she's the chief operations officer. I'm the chief strategy officer. And we've been there before, we've done it. We know, like, I know what it feels like to be a loan officer and wondering where your loan's at or the frustrations if the process doesn't go smoothly. So yeah, I like to think that we're trying to figure out like I try to put myself back in the originator seat every single day and like would I want to originate in this system or not? And if not, what would it need to look like to feel like I could get more done during the course of a day? And that's that's kind of the mindset we take in there every day. We really consult with a lot of focus groups with our teams and say, okay, what's frustrating, what's getting in your way, and then try to figure out how can we get that out of their way.
yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah, that is huge. I would have to think we talked about this a little bit in the beginning, and I said it was like a whole different conversation to be had. But I would think that with you having that mindset and knowing and understanding what they go through on a daily basis, it also helps with your adoption of your systems if they know that you're thinking about them and you've implemented something that's easier to work with. Would you say that's true?
I think I've got trust with like take our sales team for example. I used to qualify for the sales trips alongside of them. So like they know I know what they go through. So they've seen me on the sales trip as a loan officer. Now they get to see me from a spot where I've got technology and so I can sit with them at the beach and go, look guys, try this. Just try it. I promise you it's going to work. And if it doesn't work, call me and we'll figure out how to make it better. So
Yeah.
and again that goes back to the flexibility of Byte. If there's something that we need to smooth out, we've got the ability to make that smoother for them and kind of set our workflows accordingly.
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely fabulous. It sounds like you've got just a really great balance there with your team members. And I know that that's something that's talked about a lot within the TMC family is how do you get your teams to adopt the technology? Obviously, spent money on the technology. You want them using it. So that's absolutely fabulous. Bobby, I don't think
Yeah.
it's any secret that any of our team members that have spent time with other members that are using Byte that they love you. I'm sure it's not all just about your product, kind of like in John's case, it's not just about the product that they're trying to sell, it's much more
Mhm.
than that. Can you
Mhm.
talk about the people that you have
Sure.
at Byte, the human factor part of Byte and how that works related to your customer satisfaction that you have.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is. It's a huge part, I think. And I think some of it is a combination of our size. I think some of it is a combination of, much like to John's point, you know, almost every single person at Byte came from the mortgage lending world, right? So, many people know Mark Todd. He's run mortgage companies before. Many people know Jeanette McGraw. She has been, a regional, production manager at mortgage companies, retail, wholesale. Kurt Cummins, our head salesperson, has also run mortgage companies. So it's like you can go right down the list of from our top to our middle people. A lot of our support team have come from the mortgage lending side. So to have that hands-on knowledge and not just be kind of reading from a help guide, so to speak, I think really helps a lot, both with the product design, looking at it from how does this, if I was back as a loan officer, how would I want to do this? Or if I was back on the ops side, like how would I want to do this as they're building the product or as they're enhancing the product? So I think that's a big part of it. But I think another part of it is just the culture here of just caring, and I think that's where you guys are seeing that on your end with the TMC members. Is it's almost like a little bit of a family, much like TMC, I think is why I thought the fit was so good when we first joined you guys. Um, we know our clients and they know us. When they call in, they get a support person that knows them. And it's almost like, hey, it's like they get to talk to their friend a little bit as they're getting help.
Love that.
And I think the fact that you can call in and talk to somebody is probably a huge thing. I didn't understand that when I first got to Byte, how big that was until I started talking to clients and or prospects looking at Byte that are on other systems. And they would almost stop us sometimes when we would kind of glaze through that comment about calling in support. They go, wait, you can call in? I go, yeah, like you can't. And so, and our average tenure here, I think it's around 10 years, our average tenure of employees. So you have people here that know Byte inside and out. They're part of that culture where they really care. And I'll share a quick example. I was just on a call the other day. We had a guy who he works for a client that's been with Byte for a long time, but he's new. Came over from another lender that was on, a much larger
Different
LOS.
system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And it was just trying to like figure this thing out because his predecessor, I guess, didn't leave a lot of information, and he was used to doing it a different way, and had some concerns around our multi-user editing, which is one of those things that people really love. But for him, it was kind of like, wait a minute, this is concerning. And so when we were done, he just kept saying like, this has been awesome. Like I've heard about this, like you said, people talk about it. I've heard about that people really like Byte, but now I get it. I called in, I had this concern. Our support person kind of walked him through it, but he still wasn't fully understanding it. So she's like, well, let's grab someone for professional services, and we'll grab Bobby on here too. And so the three of us all got on a call with him right away and kind of walked him through it maybe a little different way than she did. And then it clicked and he was like, oh, okay, I get it. Now I'm happy with that feature, but more so it's just like, you guys just kind of dropped what you were doing and jumped in and helped me out. So I don't know if that's normal or not. That's normal for here. And I think that's probably a huge reason why. So I don't know, John, you can add to that. You're the one that deals with it all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we've been here for again, I'm saying minimum 16 years because we didn't just join Byte when I joined the company. So it could be 20, it could be 30 years. I got to find out what the exact number is. We'll have to do some research. But yeah, we're still Byte customers for a reason. I mean, the relationships that we've got, the ability to, interact with you guys when we have an issue and things along those lines is always, we value that. We value relationships. We're a
Yeah.
relationship driven company within our four walls. We also want that same thing outside of these walls. I mean, the relationships with every single one of our vendors is super important. It's a partnership here that goes both directions. And,
Yeah.
we need to make sure that we're, being clear in what we need and then make sure that we're getting that back in return. And, we wouldn't be with the vendor for 16 plus years if there wasn't value there.
Yeah,
Well said.
absolutely. Absolutely. We always love to work with, I think that, technology and everything is great out there. But ultimately, I think a lot of the time it just boils down to you like to work with people that are willing to work with you, that you like to work with. And, if the product supports that, I think that's just a winning combination of
Yeah.
things. Good product, great people, always makes for easier times. And I think in the mortgage industry, we always look for those things in those people that are willing to help us. It's been absolutely delightful talking to both of you. We're kind of running up on the end of time here.
It goes by fast.
I know it does, doesn't it? I always say that. It's like, how did that go? It's a great conversation amongst friends, and that's why it goes so fast, I think. I did want to mention one thing though, especially for those of you who are attending our conference in Scottsdale. It is like only 3 weeks
It's
away.
coming up, yeah. I got
Yeah,
you
coming up
can't
really.
see it, but I got a bunch of boxes down here that are
Yeah,
have all the welcome kits for you guys. So we got some cool stuff.
food in there? That's always that's
There'll
always
be
the
some, yeah,
question. That's always the
allegedly.
question I ask. But Bobby will be showcasing the new things that they have going on at our partner showcases.
Yeah, the new AI builder. It's gonna be
Yeah,
awesome.
Monday the 23rd at 12:45 Mountain Time in room number 2. I looked it up so that I could make sure and share that with you. So if you're there, please join us. Our lenders really value the time that they get to see all of the partner showcases, and I'm sure Bobby's going to do a fabulous job. So join us for that. Thank you, John. Thank you, Bobby. Great
Absolutely.
conversation. It did go by really, really fast. And for those of you listening, come back and join Jody on the SIP next Tuesday at the same time. Appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for doing
Appreciate
this
you
with
guys. Have a
us.
great
Yeah.
day.
Thanks, John. Thanks,
See you
guys.
guys.
See you
Bye.
soon.